Good afternoon, New York, and the rest of our listeners around the globe. My name is June Stoyer, and I'm the host of the Clean Energy View radio show, which is a special series focused on the world of clean energy. Our podcasts are available on iTunes under the Organic View Radio Network, or you can simply visit cleanenergyview.com. If you have a question, please send me a tweet at June Stoyer or post a comment on our page at facebook.com/cleanenergyview. If you'd like to be on the show or would like to find out about sponsorship opportunities, please contact us at info@cleanenergyview.com. Today's show is sponsored by RamVPN.com, the leading provider of next-generation online anonymity and VPN security solutions. Their architecture is unique, tamper-safe, and 100% guaranteed. They even accept Bitcoin. For more information, please visit their website at www.ramvpn.com. Energy storage has been a key issue for consumers as well as industry. The devastation caused by Hurricane Sandy made it clear that there needs to be great progress to develop storage technologies. On today's show, scientist and energy expert Dr. William Acker is going to be my guest to talk about exciting news about the energy storage roadmap for New York's electric grid. Dr. Acker is a well-known and highly regarded scientist and entrepreneur in the field of energy. He currently serves as the first executive director of NYBEST, which is the New York Battery and Energy Storage Consortium. So I'd like to welcome back to the show Dr. William Acker. Good afternoon, sir. It has been quite a while since I've spoken to you, and a pleasure to have you back.
Good afternoon, June. I'm delighted to be back.
Before we begin, it is such an honor to have someone such as yourself on the show. Could you just take a moment to share a little bit more about yourself and what NYBEST does?
I'd be delighted to. NYBEST is the New York Battery and Energy Storage Technology Consortium, and it is a consortium that is driving the development of the energy storage industry and establishing New York State as a leader in the energy storage industry. I've been in the renewable energy field for over 30 years, been involved in lots of aspects of the energy industry, and over the time recognized the essential part that energy storage is playing and will continue to play in the energy field. If you think about it, energy storage is the key enabling technology to both the advanced electricity grid and to advanced transportation. So it's transforming two of the largest industries on the planet. And the industry has been growing very, very rapidly and really moving forward in a way that is allowing for these changes to occur in the world. So NYBEST was formed about 5 years ago to be a driver in the energy storage industry, to help shepherd in these transformations, to encourage and catalyze the creation of the industry and the growth of companies in New York State. So we've been having a wonderful time doing this. It's incredibly exciting, and it really is something that I think is coming to the forefront right now.
How will this energy storage roadmap make a significant impact?
Energy storage, as I said, is transforming two large industries, and this energy storage roadmap is focusing on the electricity grid. And we've seen all kinds of reasons the electricity grid needs to change. The electricity grid really is a marvel of modern engineering, but it was designed many, many years ago with the constraints that were involved at that time. And with the weather events we've seen, the challenges with the resilience on the electricity grid, with the greenhouse gas goals that we have with regard to making the grid cleaner and less polluting, with the need to make it more cost effective and make it more efficient. All of these things are driving major changes to the electricity grid, and to make those changes, you really need to have some new technologies, and energy storage is the key enabling technology to allow a lot of this to happen. The roadmap lays out how energy storage will integrate into the grid, the various benefits and services it provides, and what the challenges are to realize this future vision, to really take advantage of all these benefits, and then lays out pathways to overcome those challenges and specific goals and targets and specific actions that are needed. And I should say this is a document that was created by literally nearly 100 people in the industry, many contributors from across the New York State itself, the industry participants, academia, and brought together by NYBEST.
How will renewables be integrated?
New York State is a leader in addressing the greenhouse gas goals and integrating renewable energy. We already have a sizable amount of renewable energy on our electricity grid because of the actions we've taken over the years. And we have incredibly aggressive goals going forward. The governor just in January announced a transition from an aspirational goal of 50% renewable energy to making it a requirement for 2030. So that's only 14 years away to achieve half of our energy from renewable sources. That's a very, very substantial goal and challenge. And the thing people need to recognize is that, first of all, this is doable, that renewable energy costs have been coming down dramatically. Solar power is reaching grid parity, being the cheapest form of power, as well as wind. But these are devices that are intermittent. The sun doesn't always shine. The wind doesn't always blow. And so you can't just lay a lot of solar and wind on the electricity grid and expect to make your goal alone. You need to put a lot of solar and wind onto the grid and also change how the grid works, change how you're actually using the energy, and that's where energy storage comes in. The ability to take that energy and save it and use it later, and also the ability to smooth out the fluctuations that occur from renewable energy sources. When the clouds go over a solar array, for instance, you have a short drop in power to be able to smooth that all out. Those are the things that are being needed to reach our renewable energy goals.
Could you please talk about REV and how it works?
REV stands for Reforming the Energy Vision. It is a initiative of New York State, and it is a quite broad, encompassing initiative to change our electricity grid. Our electricity grid, and the electricity grid just about anywhere in the world, is a central generation out grid. You have these big power plants that make power that gets distributed out to transmission lines, out through your local lines, out to homes. The grid of the future is going to look very different. The grid of the future is going to be a network grid. I mean, think about the internet. Think about things where there are lots of transactions from various different sources. So as you start to have broad penetration of distributed energy resources, solar on your houses, energy storage in your buildings, combined heat and power, fuel cells, wind, all kinds of other devices on the network, all of these things, and smart appliances, smart things that can adjust when they take load. All of these things will be able to work together to make the grid much, much more efficient. And REV is an initiative to make that happen. REV is an initiative by New York State that's a combination of many different programs. That's goal is to make a transactive networked grid of the future that is more efficient and cleaner and more reliable than the old grid. And the state is really a leader in this. There are only a few states in the nation that have control of their own electricity system. New York is one of them, and New York is truly a leader in making this happen.
Dr. Acker, will this allow people to sell the extra energy?
That's one of the key tensions of REV is that instead of everyone buying energy strictly coming from power plants and utilities, that people with solar panels, people with other forms of generation will be able to literally participate in the market themselves. They'll be able to sell energy onto the market and benefit from it. The idea here is that you're making a robust market for electricity that allows people to participate and receive benefits if they have surplus, so that you actually get these benefits accrued across wide areas of the state. This is going to take a little time to play out. There's also a lot of work to be done in REV. But the concept that everyone that can be a consumer but also can be a producer of energy.
That's just fantastic news. I know a lot of people are going to be very happy about that. Thank you. How is this positioning New York to be a key competitor for other states that are vying for the top spot, if you will, to be the leader in energy?
So because New York is creating this new electricity grid within the state, we're also creating the first markets for many, many types of new products and technologies. And we're encouraging companies to engage here in the state. So the ability to have those markets, the ability to have the technology developed here, the ability to have many of the key companies being resident in New York is creating an ecosystem. It's creating an ecosystem for energy storage and also for smart grid technologies that attracts industry, that attracts jobs. We are seeing that being a leader in the change to the rules and the change to how the grid works and encouraging these new technologies. New York has a clean energy fund that's administered through NYSERDA that is driving the new technologies being brought out onto the electricity grid. all of those things are making New York very, very competitive for companies to come. And one of the things NYBEST does, our organization, we work to promote the companies within the state and to attract companies from outside and help out companies outside New York State to engage in the state of New York. So we have about 150 member companies now, and we're constantly having more approach us. We're continuing to grow to have companies engage in these areas.
What are the goals for the future of the roadmap?
The roadmap lays out a number of different areas in which energy storage is drive the transformation of the grid. We have one of the things that this new grid will achieve is to be more efficient. So to understand this, if your electricity grid was built to do the highest capacity at any time. It's almost like having, no warehouse for toys and having all your toys have to be made Christmas morning, or having no early delivery services, but having all the highways be built big enough so you can deliver them all that same day. So our grid is very much overbuilt. And it's overbuilt because we never had storage, and we haven't had these transactive services before. So one of the key goals of REV and the roadmap is to use energy storage to reduce these very high peak capacities, which, by the way, the Public Service Commission estimates the top 100 hours in New York State cost the state between $1.2 and $1.7 billion a year. So just serving electricity for those top 100 hours, if you were able to flatten that peak down to the 101st hour level, would save over $1 billion a year. We're talking about very, very big opportunities with making the grid more efficient, making the grid more resilient, and enabling this growth of renewable energy. So the roadmap lays out actual particular numerical targets for energy storage on the grid to achieve these goals, and discusses how those goals are met by energy storage.
It also, from what I can see, is going to help the state become energy independent. So considering that, do you think that at some point in the future, New York will be in a position where it can sell energy outside the country?
New York historically has, for its electricity grid, has produced a lot of its own electricity, but of course it does it with imported fuels in general. And in the transportation side, of course, almost all of the fuel is imported for vehicles. And these are big numbers. It's a lot of money that is spent on bringing all that fuel into the state. The transition to a new electricity grid and the transition in transportation, which goes beyond this roadmap we're talking about today, but something NYBEST also works in, of having electric and fuel cell vehicles and other kinds of advanced plug-in vehicles. Those will dramatically change this whole dynamic of how the energy flow works. You'll be able to have fueling for those vehicles come from power that's made by wind and solar right in New York State, and save that dramatic outflow of money for all of that fuel. On the electricity grid side, as I said, we already do produce most of our electricity, but we do pay for our fuel from outside the state. And having more renewables, obviously the key of renewables is you're not paying for your fuel. So there's another dramatic cost savings that incurs to New York State consumers.
But inevitably, in the future, I'm not talking about tomorrow, of course, or even next year, but at some point in the distant future, New York is going to be in a position where they have an abundance of energy that's stored and could actually profit from that. Or is that something that it's just too far out there to even think about at this point?
I think, right now the key is to serve our own needs for energy without spending billions and billions of dollars on importing fuel. And that, I think, is the first wave of what you see. The focus really is on transforming the state from being a huge importer of fuel to being self-sufficient. One of the nice things about renewable energy is that it is local. So our vision of the world going forward is that you have local generation of energy, not just in New York, but around the world. So the other piece that comes with it is a lot less movement on trading of raw fuels, which of course has great environmental benefits also. So I don't necessarily envision that New York State will be a large net exporter of energy, but I do believe that we will be self-reliant and we will have a very large economic benefit associated with that, literally tens of billions of dollars that we don't export from the state anymore.
That's such tremendous news, and to be at this point is fabulous. I really commend you for all of your efforts and everything that you and your team have been doing. Could you just take a moment and share with our listeners how they can learn more?
NYBEST website is www.ny-best.org. The copy of the roadmap we're talking about is on that site. You can go take a look at that. You can take a look at the site. It has a lot of other information about what is occurring in New York State right now. And then, of course, there's lots of materials coming out of the state itself with regard to REV, and you can look at NYSERDA, also the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority. NYBEST also runs many conferences throughout the year that are listed on our site, so a number of webinars and other informational pieces. One of our key goals is to share information and to make sure that people are aware of these opportunities that are occurring.
Thank you so much. And folks, please check out the companion article, which will be available at cleanenergyview.com. Thank you for tuning in. This has been June Stoyer with the Clean Energy View radio show. Have a great afternoon.